Right.
Green button.
Good afternoon. Time for panel number 2. Again, my name is Jeff Woolsey. It is truly a pleasure to be here. By the way, I forgot to mention our Twitter handles are here below for folks that want to follow me. I'm at WSB Guy. Yeah, let's get started. So today we've got the Diversity in Tech panel, and I have 3 esteemed colleagues here. First, I'd like to introduce Laura Hunter. She's a Principal Program Manager in C&E Security. Thanks for being here, Laura.
Thank you very much for having me.
Next, we got, I want to make sure I'm getting this right, Dr. Tan Mei Hui. Apologies if I didn't get that right.
That's right.
Excellent. She's a manager of cybersecurity for PricewaterhouseCoopers. Thank you very much for being here. And finally, Pratima Amonkar.
Perfect.
Oh.
Perfect.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. Director and Area Head of APAC ISV Business, Microsoft Asia. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here. If you could just briefly tell us a little bit about kind of what you do and what you do in your positions.
Absolutely. So I am a program manager inside of Microsoft's Cloud and Enterprise Security division, which is a long-winded way of saying that I make the internet safer one customer at a time.
For myself, I'm a manager from PwC Singapore, and my area of expertise is in cybersecurity. So I help clients to build their systems and also do some form of protection and defense for them.
I have a very exciting role and career inside Microsoft. The work that I do is primarily with companies that build on Azure Stack as well as our cloud. These are organizations which are called ISVs, also with little mature startups. Quite a few of them are around here. You see Riverbed and Certis and so on. So my job basically is to get them to be successful at customer site. That's what I do.
Awesome. All right. So I want to dive into, you guys all work on some really cool stuff. I'm kind of curious to know, what's the most exciting technology? What's the most exciting thing you've worked on recently?
Most exciting thing I've worked on recently. So inside of C&E Security, and you've probably heard people mention this in different sessions, and if you haven't, go to my session tomorrow morning and you'll hear about it, is this notion of Microsoft Intelligent Security. And so if you've heard anyone say the words Microsoft Intelligent Security Graph, that's marketing's way of saying that we're a really big company and we get a lot of security signals from a lot of different locations. We get security information from Office 365, from Windows Live ID, from our digital crimes unit, and we're able to take all of this information and all of these security signals that we get from all of these different sources, and we're able to bundle those up very rapidly, sometimes in a matter of minutes, and apply that learning and apply that intelligence out to our customers. If any of you follow Brad Anderson on Twitter, he did a blog post a couple of weeks ago where we found the first instance of a zero-day malware, Patient Zero, in one of our clients out on the internet. The time that it took us to identify the Patient Zero malware, sandbox it, protect that client, analyze it, figure out what it was, update all of our definitions, push those definitions out worldwide. 14 minutes.
Whoa!
1-4. I love the cloud. It makes me so happy.
14 minutes.
Do you share all that information with other vendors who provide security products as well?
Not at the moment. Watch this space.
Okay, I want you to internalize what you just said one more time. That's actually news to me. I had missed that post from Brad. You said we went from identifying a day zero, understanding what it was, sandboxing it, updating our definitions in 14 minutes.
14 minutes.
And was it, wow, what region of the world was this even located in? Do you happen to know?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay.
Do not remember.
One of the things I find fascinating, because I've talked to Brad about this, and is how they're able to, you guys are able to get data from anywhere around the world. So we could be sitting here in Singapore, but someone happens to find a day zero in South America, and guess what? We update those definitions and we push those worldwide, and you happen to get protected because of the work that's going on in Laura's team and bringing all that data together. That is awesome.
That's my cool part of the world.
That is really cool. Awesome. Thank you. So what's one of the most exciting things you've been working on recently?
Yeah, so for me, I do some technical work as well. But one of the things that I often champion is that technology is not just for people who are in tech, it's also for people who are not in tech. So even during the normal course of my work, I'm trying to educate people that, hey, cybersecurity is for all companies, not just the IT folks. And we try to push it out to different agencies as well. So we work with different groups and different clients. And the course of my work, I get to interact with all sorts of people, and it's quite fun to work with them and tell them, hey, like the things that you talk about, it's not just for the techies. You can be attacked anywhere, anytime, and you need to be vigilant. Yeah, so one of my roles is as an educator.
So very cool.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, for asking me this question, because we have just concluded a couple of very, very interesting projects with companies which are into extremely traditional and basic verticals. Let me begin with one project that we did with a retail outlet. It's a multi-city outlet, not Singapore-based, outside of Singapore, Indonesia in fact. And what we did with them was a very long, almost a 8 to 12 month project, where we went into their data and worked with their large repositories of traditional legacy data that they had, with the view of providing them with intelligence which they could actually make business decisions on. The power of working with technology, using technology as a layer over existing material that they had, and helping them to convert that into insight with a variety of Microsoft and Azure services, and a whole bunch of products ranging from Power BI to data lake to a variety of BI as well as big data services. What we then did was we collated all of this, started creating dashboards for them. So one very real example came to us at that point of time, where they were planning to shut down a particular shop because they believed that that shop did not have enough of footfalls, and they believed that the traffic was not good enough in that shop. And with the data, we then revisited everything, and we figured out that it was not really a question of the footfalls, but in actual fact, the conversion after the footfall actually reached the shop was very high. So the time that was spent in the shop and the final into a sale kind of a thing was very high. So what I'm trying to make a point here is that we literally saved a mall, perhaps some jobs there, by using that data and converting it into an insight which that large company could use. 12 months down the line, they have cut their spend, brought their spend management into much better control, and literally they report back to us that they have been able to do some sort of a spend management which is almost close to around 11 to 12% of savings on this, based on the projects that we did. Clearly, of course, they are now fans of big data and analytics and so on. So in this example, why I was excited about it is it ranged between business impact, even people impact, real people impact, because we saved some guys in jobs and so on, and also the fact that with technology we are actually enhancing the productivity and therefore the success of that business. And the underlying layer and the power of the Azure platform was really brought to light in all of this.
Wow.
That's my example.
That's awesome. That's a great story about the inside of analytics and how it can help an organization. I love to hear these stories. Very different, very unique.
But at the same time, I love the fact that we're talking about using data to protect the world from hackers. We're talking about using data to save companies money and save people jobs.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, and that insight can be used broadly
Yes.
to help the world in a variety of different ways. Love it. I want to switch a little bit now and get to our diversity topic here. Diversity, of course, is a hot topic, and it's a very much a focus area this year. What's on your wish list? What do you hope to see being addressed more this year in terms of diversity?
So I am a big believer in mentorship, and Microsoft as a company is a big believer in mentorship. People who exist at senior levels of the company, you are expected to have a mentor, you are expected to be a mentor. Mentoring is super important to me. I am less invested in the idea that my mentor looks like me. I am more invested in the idea that my mentor is bringing the right qualities to the table. So if we look at the qualities that I look for in a mentor, I want someone who is going to be at the same time super supportive of me, but also super challenging, which is to say, I want you to go out and be the best version of yourself, even if I occasionally have to kick you in the butt to get you to do it. And I'm very fortunate that I have someone like that professionally right now. And my hope is that, especially as women in technology, that we can, seek out those support structures throughout our organizations, whether our mentor is a man or a woman, and that we can provide that support to other people. Again, I don't care if my mentee looks like me. I care that they are invested in becoming the best version of themselves.
Now, by the way, so you mentioned you have a mentor. Do you mentor others as well?
I do. I do. I have one mentor inside of Microsoft at the moment, and I have two more junior program managers inside of Microsoft that who are mentees of mine.
Pratima, has that been your experience as well? Have you had a mentor or mentored others?
I do mentor a few people currently, yes, and I do have mentors also. And as Laura rightly said, it's not really about whether the mentor was a man or a woman. Currently now I'm being mentored by both a senior male from Microsoft as well as a senior VP in Microsoft also. Now, having said that, what I truly passionately believe in is something which really is a throwback to when I joined the tech industry. I have been in the industry for close to 20 years now, and I've been in a variety of companies ranging from very large organizations like IBM and very tiny startups. I was leading a startup in India, and my entire journey has been in the East, and specifically with India, and then moved to Singapore around 3 years back. All tech roles, so all in the technology industry. And I've realized that the mantra that I use always, and I keep telling my mentees also, is that just be bold and be fearless. Don't consent to creep when you can soar, is really been what I have tried to tell my mentees. So as Laura was saying, kick people, get kicked if you need to, but never peg for less than what you can do. And always being in a learning mode is really what has helped drive and excite me. And this is precisely the message that my mentors have been giving me, and I have been giving to mentees also. So being a lifelong learner and always being bold, being fearless, just going and doing it. That's as simple as that. Nothing more complex than that.
That's a good point that you both made. Sometimes the best thing that a mentor can do is give you a kick in your complacency, and force you to get out of that comfort zone and push you to do things to drive you further, to get you to drive you into new places.
Jeff, I like the point that you made, but I'd just like to replace the word complacency with fearfulness, I would say, or being held back. It's not really complacent. It's just that at times we believe that we may not be able to take that next project for whatever weird reasons. And I just would like to tell everybody that, just trying it out, just being bold and challenging yourself will take you places, no matter what you do.
My mentor's favorite phrase is, be hungry but humble.
Yes, I love that.
Good words. Yeah, good words there. I agree with that. May, how about you? Have you been a mentor or have you mentored others?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I came from academics, so mentorship is not just about academic learning, but it's also lifelong lessons.
Yes.
So one of my best mentors was my supervisor, because she's a female and she has a family. So it's something that I admire very much, that she could handle work, she could handle her children, and as well as be very successful in both career and family. And a lot of things that we learn are not just about the technical skills or the hard skills, but also soft skills like how do you deal with people, and how to pay it forward. So something that is very important to me is paying it forward, sharing what I have learned with other people. So not just the education stuff, but also in life, how we go about dealing with things. So I enjoy working with children, especially. So I do teach children about coding and stuff. So that's something that I feel that they may not remember it 10 years from now, but it's a small step that I take to bring them a step closer to being in tech.
I'd just like to share with everybody, in fact it was as recent as today at lunch. I mentor a person a young woman in technology who's not inside of Microsoft, she's outside, and she knows me from before and she keeps me. So we were just talking, and she's now currently trying to find her way, but actually she lost her previous job and now she's looking at a fresh one due to a variety of reasons. So I just shared with her something that my mentor had told me, that in a good way, and this is probably not just for women but for everybody, in that I told her that look, this is a tough time for her. Just stand back, sit for a few days, take your time, but now redefine your brand. What exactly is going to be your brand that you're going to hold in your hand when you go out and talk to a whole set of new people. The fears that she faces, which probably is common for men and women, but probably more actuated or more sharp in women, specifically in technical roles, is one is not able to actually articulate exactly what you're bringing on in a fearless way. So I think something that my mentor shared with me, which I keep sharing to everybody, is that take your time, really create a page which says this is my brand. This is what I'm going to be known for, right? And once you do that, and that's really about adding value to the business, adding value to whatever business you go to. And every woman should understand and realize you bring real value to the business. There is. So just articulate it. That's all. That's the.
I love it. This is great to hear about these experiences. Some say that it's difficult to find technical women role models. I'm curious, is that your experience? And who are your role models?
So I am fortunate that inside of Microsoft, let's call it what it is, female representation inside the technology industry is subpar relative to overall population, but Microsoft is at least on par with industry averages. I think the last time we ran the numbers, it was 26% or 27% women inside the company. So I have a fairly decent amount of not just women role models, but technical women role models. A woman named Ann Johnson, who frankly I stalk on Twitter, is a CVP is a CVP inside of our security group, and she is a fantastic role model to look at. We have any number of partners. We have partners. We have general managers inside of Microsoft who are women. I know that in other companies, for example, people may not be as fortunate. Microsoft is always hiring.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Hungry for talent.
Yeah, so for me, I was lucky that I was mentored by women in education and tech. So I do recognize that in schools, even when we are studying, the large population will not be women or girls. But I think that things are getting better now because there's more awareness, and also, it's seen that it's not that lady unfriendly to be in tech. So I think that even with a very strong community, there's a lot of support that we have. So that's something that I'm actually grateful for as well.
I know I'm going to date myself with this answer, and I am very young, I promise you. But when I started in tech, we did COBOL programming and Fortran and such things. So you know how way back that was, and I can see some people smiling in the audience here. So at that time, there were near zero women in tech, particularly in India, where I was educated and moved and so on. So yes, it was a struggle for me to find anybody as a role model. It was really just powering your way through and going through day to day, accepting things that you cannot change, and not accepting being less than what you can do, and then going ahead. I see a lot of change today. I'm really heartened by the way that more and more young girls are going into a technology career. I think we are also doing, many technology companies like us are doing very, very solid work in getting girls to be excited about coding and so on. But we do have a long way to go, and I'm not saying anything which nobody in the audience knows. Having said all that, I still believe very strongly there are iconic women around in a variety of roles, in a variety of companies, and they need not be at senior VP or CEO levels. They could well be superb technical brains who are anywhere around, who are creating the next beautiful game or the next funky app, right? And you could perhaps look at a variety of icons. So there would be some people who are beautiful technically, some people who know exactly what to do with a technical team and how to bring those up, etc. So what worked for me was, because I was not really able to get everything in one single icon, having multiple people and multiple, I would say, people who inspired me was what worked and what helped me along the way. It's an evolving list, and it keeps changing as we go.
Awesome. Okay, I'm having a lot of fun here. This is great, but I have to keep an eye on the time as well. I know we are coming close to the end, so I'm going to ask you ladies one more question. Just kind of, if you were to share one key piece of advice, just things you've learned in your career so far, what would that be?
The biggest thing that I think I've learned, not just as a woman in tech, but just as a technologist, is be a continuous learner. And I know that that's a phrase that Satya is very, very much keyed in on in his book. But honestly, I think it's a phrase that we've known for 20 some odd years. I was saying 20 years ago when I was first teaching Windows NT classes, and I had these young-ish kids coming in trying to get certified in Windows. I would always tell them, if you don't want to be learning for the rest of your life, get out of technology, because you're always going to be learning the next thing. And if that excites you, and if that's interesting to you, technology is a fantastic field for you. And if you're not, become that person, because that's an awesome person to be.
That's a great piece of advice.
So for me, I would say to be creative. So just to share a bit more about my background, because I believe that tech manifests in different ways. So previously I was a computer engineer and an electrical engineer. Then I went into tech consulting, for cybersecurity. So one of the things I realized is that was not the traditional field that most engineers would be going into, but it's still very, very relevant and related. So my advice to those who are looking into joining technology is that you don't have to restrict yourself to think that, hey, it's just coding, implementation, but there are different ways that you can contribute to tech, such as business development, as a program manager, or through consulting and even integration. So be more creative, and you can find lots of opportunities everywhere.
Mine is what I said at the very beginning. Just be fearless. Swim, jump into the pool. Nothing is going to go wrong. And as just to reiterate everything that has been said up to now, keep learning, and as you keep absorbing, you will only grow. There's only upward growth that can happen. That's my thing. Mantra is, do not consent to do less than what you can do. Do not consent to creep when you can actually soar.
Well, that is great advice all across the board. Ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Laura Hunter, Pratima Amonkar, Dr. Tom Megui, thank you, ladies, very much for being here on this Diversity in Tech panel. And if you have any questions, we'll be here answering questions. Otherwise, we'll be out here mingling and hope we can chat with you further. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the Tech Summit.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you.